without further ado, I'm going to introduce Erica. Erica and I actually met just over a year ago, doing something called When Stories and sharing our stories, and both of our stories had to do with our sons that have died, and so we really connected, and then she was able to come to the conference here last year, and so I'm really excited for her to be able to speak with you all. Erica is an international empowerment speaker, award-winning author, and the founder of Balanced Symmetry. She's known for her signature framework, Rooted Leadership, and Erica teaches leaders and change makers how to stay grounded, resilient, and authentic in every season of life. A passionate advocate for boundary management, Erica equips women with the tools to protect their peace, honor their energy, and lead from a place of strength instead of sacrifice. As a bereaved mother, Erica honors the legacy of her son through advocacy, storytelling, and creating safe spaces where grief can transform you into growth. She believes that our stories carry seeds of connection and healing, that from deep roots of love and loss, new life, strength, and purpose can emerge. Welcome, Erica.
Hello, everybody. I am horrible about handheld mics because I talk with my hands. So if I start doing this and you can't hear me, just say, So, as Michelle said, I'm Erica Gifford Mills. I'm an empowerment coach, a speaker mentor, an author, and most importantly, and the job I loved the best, was mother to Connor Stephen Mills. He was a United States Marine. He took his own life at the age of 24 in September of 2024. And the saddest thing about that was that he was my best friend. And I didn't see it. And so I strongly, as a personal advocacy, I support mental health awareness for active military and veterans, because we rely on them so much for all they do, and I don't know that they are getting all the help and support that they need. But also, as a bereaved mother, I'm here to tell you that you need to protect your peace. And one way to do that is boundary management. And so you've got some handouts in front of you, and we'll go through each one of them. That's why I have my glasses, because getting old sucks and I can't read without my readers now. But grief has a funny way of barreling in and getting rid of the BS, right? The things that you once had capacity for, the things that you once put up with, they're not worth it, because you know what is important. You know the things that you've lost. And sometimes that comes out as anger, resentment. But we do have to put a little bit of that on us to create, to communicate, and to keep our boundaries. But also to know that boundaries change. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2023, and I went through 18 months of chemotherapy. I had 5 surgeries, a double mastectomy, and then I lost Connor. It was 10 days after my last surgery. If I didn't have that journey, I probably wouldn't be here now myself. Because during that time, my boundaries changed. I learned how to accept help. I wasn't always good at asking for it yet, but I learned how to accept help, which was not a strong suit, was not something I was good at. But I believe that I got breast cancer because it prepared me to be able to ask for help when my son died. If I wouldn't have gone through all that ahead of time, I wouldn't have been able to reach out the way I did after I lost him. One of those ways was boundaries. And so that's what I kind of want to go through. You can participate, you can sit and listen. This is a safe space. So you do what you need to do. You honor where you're at now. This is not about fixing your grief. It's not about fast forwarding your healing. It's about meeting you where you are now and giving you tools for when you are ready to move forward. So I want you to take a look at the sheet itself, right at the top. It's our grounding check-in. I want you to first take one nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And there is no right or wrong answer here. I want you to mark, are you feeling calm, heavy, anxious, numb, open, or something else? Again, no right or wrong answer. Many times in grief, we feel fear, we feel guilt, we do the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Like, what if I would have done this different? I mean, I know I've had that. What if I wasn't so wrapped up in my own shit? Would I have seen what my son was going through? We can't live that way. We can't say, if I would have done this earlier, if I would have gone here, maybe if I didn't eat this when I was pregnant, maybe if I would have been more careful. We will tear ourselves apart if we do that. I want you to take a look at the grief awareness. So since my loss, one thing that drains me more than it used to is, it can be a one-word answer. It doesn't have to be a full sentence. But you've probably found yourself, at least I'll make it an I statement. I found myself, it was before death and after death. So before Connor, during Connor, after Connor. And things that I would have put up with that I said yes to. Overworking, over-preparing, over-committing. I did not have the literal energy to do that anymore. And people would say, you've changed. Yeah, hell yeah, I did change. The best thing I ever did is gone. Yeah, I changed. But how am I going to make that change into something positive? So what is one thing that you used to be able to do that now just sucks the life out of you? And that could be family, could be friends, it could be work, it could be just getting up and taking a shower. That self-awareness is really important because it will help you to move forward when you're ready, again. And if right now all you can do is get out of bed, that's all you do. If the next day you get out of bed and take a shower, hey, you're putting one foot in front of the other. The next that I want you to take a look at is one situation where I notice myself pushing past my limits is. And again, it can be one word, but I also want you to say, extend that and ask, why? Am I doing it to avoid the feelings? Am I doing it to show that I'm okay, even though I'm not? Am I doing it because that's what everybody's expecting me to do? Am I doing it because everybody else has moved on and I haven't? If any of this is resonating with you, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You are healing. You are moving forward, and you are doing it at your own pace. I think you've heard throughout today, there is no book for it. Well, I should say, there are several books for it, but there are no books that are going to give you exactly how you're feeling, because everybody's different. Everybody's situation is different. Their support systems are different. Their child was different. So you just need to be able to, hey, this worked for somebody. Take that, right? Okay, it worked. Maybe I'll try it. You will eventually find what works for you, but you need to know and be aware what drains me and where am I pushing back past my limits? Because that's going to teach you what does work and what doesn't work. So now boundary reflection. One place I say yes when my body wants to say no, right? This can be everyday life too. It's been a long week. It's Friday night. Your girlfriend asked you to go out for some drinks. You haven't seen her in a while. You've been putting her off, but your body's done. It's just drained. But you say yes, because I want to be a good friend, so I go. Well, now I'm irritated, because I really don't want to be here. I'm being resentful, and I'm kind of getting a little bit of a pissing match with my friend. Is that her fault? Or is that my fault? Because I said yes when my body was saying no. You can say no. No's a full sentence. I think as Melissa said, yeah, it doesn't give you a blank check to be an asshole, but you can say no. No, thank you for the invitation. I'm just not feeling it. It's been a long week. You don't even have to say that much. No, thank you for the invitation. You are right. You have the right to say no. Boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges. They show other people how to treat and respect you. And if you think people aren't watching that, your kids, they're watching. They're watching how you might try to be Superwoman and do it all, be it all for everyone. And we just can't do that. Our minds, our bodies, they can't get through that. The next is, if I honored my grief instead of explaining it, I would. And I think I saw everybody's hands raised when you saw the, it'll get better, everything happened for a reason. Those sayings. We're a very grief-resistant society. People don't know what to say when somebody's gone. I still get that way. I lost the 3 people I've ever loved in my life: my mother, my father, and my son. And when somebody else passes away or loses somebody, I still don't know what to say. Because I don't want to minimize their loss. But I tell you, when somebody said those things to me, I just about throat punched them. Or, it all happened for a reason. I was like, no. Let's not talk like that. But if we were honoring our grief, what do we do? No answer, just as Melissa said? Would we say, that's not helpful? Or would we educate? What are we going to do? And those are very important tools to have, because you could either lose relationships in a good way, right? Maybe some of those relationships were toxic relationships that you do need to get rid of, or you can strengthen them. Because I truly don't believe anybody means to be malicious when they say these things. They just don't know what to say. But remember, we want to honor that grief. Let's go to number 4, the story in bloom. A boundary that would support my healing right now is, and this is your own boundary. What would that be? Would that be self-care time? Would that be you time? Would that be time with your child, talking to him or her? Would that be asking for help, asking for support? Would that be taking time like you are today, attending an event like this? Again, this is no right or wrong answer. This is yours. This is your boundary, not what somebody else wants you to do. It's just like setting goals. You don't set a goal that somebody else wants you to do, because you will never achieve it, because it's not something you want. This is your boundary. The next. This boundary protects what matters most to me. So maybe even think about it that way first. Why does this boundary matter to me? What will it give me in return? As cliche as it sounds, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you are just giving and giving and giving, and you're not getting anything in return, or you're giving away your power because you keep moving that boundary. Now, don't get me wrong, boundaries, they can change. Think about it as a work. You need to leave every day at 5 p.m. because you need to go pick up a child from daycare. You need to pick up the dog from doggy daycare, whatever it might be. But now there's a busy work week, there's a big project that you have to work on. You might say, I can stay later Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes, did you move your boundary? But you also set one to say, this is temporary. This is not something that is going to continue. So yes, boundaries can change, but my boundaries aren't going to be the same as yours, and your boundaries aren't going to be the same as mine. And we can't assume that everybody's boundary is the same. So if somebody does overstep that boundary, you do need to politely let them know. Because if you don't let them know, they're not mind readers. So you could be getting mad at somebody who doesn't know that this is a boundary. They don't know that they crossed it because there's no communication. So, one, be aware and real with yourself to make sure you know what that boundary is and why, and then make sure you're communicating that. Because life is different now. We need to make sure that we are moving forward in the direction that's going to honor our grieving and also respect our healing. The next page. I have a next page. So many times, I always say this, I'm single because I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't like to have to ask people for permission. But I find half the time it's permission from myself that I am not giving. It's permission to grieve, permission to rest, permission to say what I feel. And that's what I want you guys to work on right now, is your permission slip. From this point forward, I give myself permission to. And what is that going to be? What are you going to give yourself permission to do? Permission to remember in any way that you want. Permission to say their name. Permission to grieve. Permission to heal. Typically, the person who is holding you back is you. I want to say that again. The person who is typically holding back your actions, your thoughts, your feelings. So give yourself permission to do what you need to do, to grieve appropriately, to heal, and to love again. Grief and joy can coexist. I'm still working on that part. When I do something that's really great, the first thing I want to do is call my son and be like, oh my gosh, Bubba, you're not going to believe this. And it's in that moment, I remember, oh, he's gone. And then I feel sad. I feel guilty because I'm out here having a good time. It just happened. I was in Thailand last month, the month before, and I was doing mud baths with elephants. And I was swimming in with them in a river. And it was just like pure joy. I felt like a kid. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Connor, I cannot wait to tell him about this. And then I felt guilty. Like, I'm out here traveling, having a great time, all muddy with a bunch of 3,000-ton creatures. Why is that okay? Why is that okay that I'm living when he's not? And it's like this elephant knew I was having a pity party. Again, common thoughts, regular thoughts, we have them. But this big old elephant whacked me upside the head with his trunk. And I'm like, gotcha, bud. You never were subtle. You came in loud and clear. Knock it off. Grief and joy can coexist. We can still live our lives and honor them. And that's where I gave myself permission. Enjoy every moment. you can still honor them by enjoying every moment, because your love doesn't go away. We grieve so hard because we love them so much, and that will never change. We are all still mothers here. They are all our kids. That's never changed. But in order for you to grieve and to heal, you need to protect your peace. You need to make sure that you are setting appropriate boundaries for you, that work for you, not your spouse, not your significant others, not your other kids, because you are no good to any of them when your peace, your resources, your energy, all of that is not protected. So I want you to go back to that very first question. Take that nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. I want you to answer that question now. What are you feeling in this moment? Anxious, calm, nervous, open, other. It might be the same. It might be different. But know that you are in a room surrounded with other women who have your back, who are supportive, whose boundaries might be different than yours, right? I'm not going to go up and hug everybody. I hugged Michelle, but I know that was okay. But I always say that this is like my big example that I do with boundaries. Some people are huggers and some people aren't. And you go up to hug somebody and somebody goes, oh no, thank you. I'm not going to be mad at them. I overstepped, I didn't ask them. I assumed that their boundary was the same as mine. And that's a subtle one. But that's how miscommunication and resentment starts. So in your grief, when you're not even sure what you're doing at one moment in time or another, we have to be over-communicative of our boundaries. Because one day it might be fine and another day it might not be. So that permission slip, if you're comfortable, you don't have to, but if you're comfortable, I would love for you to share. You can either share out loud, share with your neighbor. What are you giving yourself permission to do? My permission, allowing joy every chance I can. That's what I'm allowing myself. I'm giving myself permission because it took me a long time. And like I said, I'm still working on it. Some days are better than others, but that's the permission I'm giving. The final. We've been through chaos. We've lost beautiful pieces of us. We want to be like a tree. We want to root down. Because when those things come, that grief comes rumbling in, because we all know grief isn't a straight line. It goes all over the place. And sometimes you're back to denial, then you're back into anger, and you're going back and forth. That's when you need to root down. Plant yourself. Take time. Breathe. Find your support systems. And people may not understand. And those might be the individuals that you don't break the relationship with. We all have people in our lives that come in for a reason and a season. And perhaps you have to find other friends who are going to understand that. And I think this is what we do here, right? This is something very special. When we can lean in and we don't have to say a word. We can just sit next to each other. Because it's not about fixing. It's about being seen. It's about being understood. That the pain doesn't always go away. because their love will always be there. So protect your peace, set those boundaries, communicate those boundaries, and you will root down and you will rise out. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Does anyone have any questions
Yes.
for Erica? We have a few extra minutes.
Yes.
Does anyone have anything they want to ask of Erica? We'll take a minute to see if anyone has a question. I'll just say my permission, I wrote something down, and then when you asked us as a group, another thing came up, and for me, like, especially in regards to my grief, is like, right now is like giving myself permission to parent my living daughter, who is just having a lot of challenges right now, and like not focus so much on my son, which can be hard, but like giving myself permission to do that, and that I'm trusting that he's okay with it. Because that's what needs to happen right now for me and my family. So, does anyone have any questions for Erica about anything she talked about today, or about setting boundaries, or something you want to share?
My daughter is very good at boundaries. She's a very strong woman, unlike her mother. But anyway, so like she put her boundaries out there as far as like how we could grieve together about my son. And that's what's hard. It's like, how do I respect her boundaries, but then also put my boundaries for her that will allow me to have my grief as well.
Well, first of all, you are a strong woman because it takes a strong woman to raise a strong woman. So don't ever second guess that. And I would say, have you communicated your boundaries to her?
No.
That's the first thing. Communicate. There might be a common ground, right? There might be something that she's willing, but if she's not, then you do need to respect that. Otherwise, it's going to hurt that relationship. But you can still grieve in your way. It just might not be with her in that way. But there's most likely common ground where you can grieve together in a certain way.
It kind of piggybacks off that, but when you set boundaries, are you also putting yourself at risk to be breaking a relationship they don't understand boundaries?
Yes. Typically, those are the takers, right, that won't respect the boundaries. A lot of times people say, well, you've changed. And this was way before my cancer journey and way before my grief journey. But I had changed some boundaries, and somebody told me, well, you changed. And I said, well, I sure the hell hope so. I hope I'm not the same person I was when I was 15, when I was 20, when I was 25, when I was 45. I hope I've changed, because that is the natural evolution. We grow, we change, things happen to us. But if we're doing it respectfully and we're having the conversation, communication is key, and communicating to listen, not communicating to respond. Because sometimes when we're listening to somebody, we're already coming up with the answer in our head, and we're not actually hearing what they're saying. There might be times when you set a boundary that you will lose a relationship. Absolutely. If the person loves you, respects you, they can typically work through it. But you have to hold firm in that boundary. When we're making boundaries, it's typically because it's our values, it's our beliefs. That's where they come from. And we have to understand why that boundary is important to us, to understand if we're willing to negotiate, right? Are we drawing a line in the sand? Or are we able to? There's a scenario that I heard, and I love it. Think of your boundaries as a house, right? So you have your house, and then you have a big fenced-in yard, and then you have an area outside that. There are going to be people in your life that are welcome in your house. There are some people who are going to be just welcome in your backyard. And there's some people who are going to be not even allowed in your backyard. They have to stay outside the fence. And that could change, right? Maybe those people that are in your house are now throwing around plates and breaking stuff. Okay, I guess what? I'm going to send them out to the yard now. Maybe they'll earn their way back in. Maybe they won't. So there's people in your life that could change like that. And that's normal. That's natural. It's a growth. It's like I said earlier, people come in for a reason in a season in your life. If it's something that's a true relationship, you'll work it out.
Any final questions? One more question if anyone has one. Otherwise, I know Erica will be around.
Yep.
So you can come and talk to her. One more question? Sure, go ahead. The mic will come over by here.
So in that scenario with moving people into different places of where they're allowed, is that a conversation that you have with those people to say you are being moved into my outermost boundary?
I would, it's going to be an awkward conversation. It's going to be a hard conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have it, you could never be back inside the house,
Yeah.
right? And if you want that person to be back inside the house,
Mhm.
then that conversation needs to take place.
Yeah.
Because that, it is. It's all about communicating. Because sometimes it was, I didn't even realize I did that. I'm so sorry. They could be apologizing right away and say, I'm so sorry. I will respect that better next time. I will make sure that doesn't happen. People read tones in a text message, read tones in an email, or somebody doesn't show up for something because something terrible happened, but they never told you. Now you're mad at them and so it's miscommunication, misinterpretation. So having that conversation and being honest about it is always the best bet.
Thank you, Erica. Can we give Erica a round of applause? Thank you. Yeah, we're comfortable to do some talk.